Hello and welcome to another edition of Islamic Finance Weekly, where we discuss key developments in the non-interest finance market. As the Islamic finance market continues to gain traction in Nigeria, Africa, and the global level, it is also interesting to know that the Islamic finance industry expanded rapidly in the first decade of the 21st century, growing at 10 to 12% annually. In many majority Muslim countries, Islamic banking assets have been growing faster than conventional banking assets, while there has also been a surge of interest in Islamic finance from non-Muslim countries. The main aim of the non-interest-free banking is to create an economic system that thrives on social justice and equitability. Amidst the remarkable growth in the non-interest finance industry, there are still challenges that need to be addressed to unlock more opportunities in the Islamic finance ecosystem. In this edition of the Islamic Finance Weekly, we'll be discussing the topic Islamic banking as an alternative financing tool for Nigeria's economic recovery and growth. Joining us today is Dr. Mustapha Abubakar, a senior lecturer at Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. Thank you for accepting to feature on the show today, Dr. Mustapha.
Thank you for having me.
Let me begin with the fact that the Islamic banking system still experiences the challenge of enlightenment and product development. From your expert knowledge in this field, can you give us your thoughts on how Islamic banking practices has evolved and its spread across the globe to Nigeria?
I will start by stating Islamic banking as you see it happening now in existence for a very long time, since the birth of Islam. Islamic banking, as you see it in practice now, is only a platform, a period. An example is that when the Prophet Muhammad arrived in Medina on immigration, he found the practice of salam being done among communities in Medina, but he repositioned it to reflect Islamic tenets. So, in a nutshell, coming back, banking has been there, but not at a formal or modern level as is being seen now. Well, in its form now, it started about 40 to 50 years back from around the Middle East, Asian countries, when Muslim economists and finance experts have realized that the workings and operations of the needs of the common man. And so there were meetings of minds among different scholars, educationists, academics, and practitioners on how we could come up with an alternative to the status quo then. And that was how some efforts were made in countries like Egypt, in countries in the Middle East, and so on, to put in place an organized banking system that reflects the Sharia requirements. And that saw the opening of different forms in many countries. But some of the experiments along the line, you have improvements, including the establishment of the Islamic Development Bank in Jeddah and many other institutions. And that has resulted in what we are seeing now, a phenomenal growth in aspects of Islamic finance, as you rightly mentioned. But I want to clarify at this juncture that Islamic finance industry is made up of three broad institutions or types of institutions. You have the Islamic banking, which is the dominant segment. You have the Islamic finance, where you have things like Sukuk, and you have the Islamic insurance segment, which is the Kafir sector. And so, as at present, and, according to the IFSB, that is the Islamic Financial Services Board report, Islamic finance institutions' assets has reached, I think, almost $2 trillion globally. I don't have the exact figures as at now, but last year that has been the figure. Now, coming down to our level here in Nigeria, there have been, of course, failed practices at formal level. Some years back, the most pronounced was the Habib Bank experimentation with a window way back in 1992, 93 or so, which was short-lived, and it was succeeded by a more concerted effort in 1998 or so, when Jaiz Bank was being conceived. There was the establishment of the Jaiz International that would midwife the establishment of Jaiz Bank that we see now, which came up, started operation after experiencing several hiccups. It opened its doors on 6 January 2012. The bank has now grown and has secured a national license, so it could open branches all over Nigeria as a full-fledged, fast, non-interest bank in Nigeria. And this is followed with other institutions coming up. Recently, precisely a year ago, you had the Taj Bank also granted a regional license to operate. You have other banks that are having windows, not as full-fledged ones. I think you have 2 also as at present. And there are many applications now waiting for central banks consideration to be granted as Islamic banks. We also have some few Islamic finance, Islamic insurance, that is the Kafir companies also granted license operate. So this has been the journey so far, although with some difficulties and problems along the line.
So since the 2007-2008 financial crisis, some economists are looking with keen interest at the Islamic financial model as an alternative source of financing. What can you say are the success stories of Islamic finance in Nigeria?
Well, one success stories, I'll look at it from some few angles. Firstly, from the angle of the number of operators. Like I mentioned a short while ago, the number of operators has grown, cutting across the 3 segments: the Islamic banking, the Takaful segment, and the Islamic finance segment. That is from that angle, and there are many more applications awaiting consideration. From the segment of operational or impact issues, well, you could say that, of course, these institutions have contributed to employment opportunities in the country. You have also the Sukuk issuances that were made, firstly by the Osun State government and currently by the federal government of Nigeria, which has impacted in some sectors of the economy, particularly education, the one issued by the Osun State government, and also the 3 Sukuk issuances made by the government on road infrastructure. So there are some contributions being made and felt.
All right, comparing the performance of Islamic finance and conventional banks, the first fared better in terms of profitability and credit growth. How can the two full-fledged non-interest banks attract more investment from private equity or venture capital firms in the country?
I think banking as an institution oriented. And, the purpose of a business is not to make superfluous profits, but to survive. And so an important indicator of survival is the continuous existence, the growth. And investors would key in many ways. For the private equity investors, of course, there are still rooms for expansion. The Islamic banks need to have in many other places across Nigeria, which could be achieved through more injection of capital, which the private equity investors could key in through private placement as a way of accessing capital by the Islamic banks. In terms of deposit mobilization, which Islamic banks maintain accounts such as investment accounts, the investors could also key in there by injecting funds as investment deposits through Mudaraba, Musharaka, and the other modes of financing. So the modes of financing are there. The investors have the opportunity, will continue to have the opportunity since the industry is just coming up, particularly in Nigeria. I told you in the global scene, it has been there for well over 40 years now, and we are just starting.
So Nigeria has issued through Sukuk since the development of Islamic finance in the country. What can you say is the impact of the true Sukuk issued so far on the road infrastructure?
Yeah, as you are aware, there are 3 Sukuk issuances so far, and the last one was even oversubscribed. And they are targeted at construction of roads, which opens up the country and opens up economy by providing easy linkages across towns and cities. In fact, there are other aspects of the economy that the Sukuk issuances have not been made. The rate of accidents when the roads are completed, the ease of movement of people and goods, and all that would have impact on the economy by Allah's grace.
So from the analysis, what is the current size of the global Sukuk market?
This question you are now tasking me as an academician to tell the figures. Yes, I have the figures now. I obtained from the International Islamic Financial Markets, which is the standard setting body for Islamic capital markets. And in that report for 2020, which was released in July 2020, it was stated that the total global issuance amounted to US dollars 145.70 billion in 2019. That is, in 2019, globally, there was a total of $145.70 billion of Sukuk across different entities. As at today, from 2001 to 2019, the total global Sukuk issuances stood at $1.247 trillion. $1.247 trillion total global Sukuk issuances as obtained from the report. If you need the report, I can send to you the entire report.
The third Sukuk was well received and oversubscribed in Nigeria. Do you anticipate for another issuance in 2021?
Yeah, I strongly anticipate. Why? Because the federal government of Nigeria is challenged for resources, and amidst growing demand for infrastructure development in the country, the government is interested in building roads, constructing of medical facilities and all that, which the budgetary resources is so meager to contend with. But many other, I reviewed a book on Sukuk, and it was documented that a lot of infrastructure in Malaysia, in Saudi Arabia, and many other countries were financed through Sukuk. When I report to you, you will see the countries that were even top issuers of Sukuk, and Nigeria cannot avoid taking part of these developments.
So what kind of products should the Islamic financial institution in Nigeria and Africa be developing that can address the issues of the funding gap?
Yeah, this gives me the opportunity to explain something which many people seem not clear about. Islamic banking, takaful, and Islamic finance are all business oriented. One of the objectives of business is to, you have another segment of Islamic finance which is not having the objective of generating profit, which you refer to as the Islamic social finance. And you have four that make up this part of Islamic finance, which are the Waqf, that is the Islamic endowment.
Yes,
you have Qard, which is the benevolent loan. You have Zakah, which is the almsgiving, and is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. And the microfinance. Now, Islamic banks could key in more into this. I did a conference on Waqf in Bangladesh sometimes in 2017, and the revival of Waqf, that is the Islamic endowment. And Islamic Bank of Bangladesh International, which is one of the earliest Islamic bank institutions in Asia, has been operating this kind of arrangement a number of years back, which I think Islamic banks can emulate. This is one of the efforts that Islamic banks can come into by way of Waqf, opening of accounts by Waqifs. Waqifs are the endowers. So this is one of the interventions that Islamic banks could do to impact more on poverty reduction. The modus operandi are there, study and implement.
I also believe that the Islamic banking needs to address the challenge of human resources and the poor customer awareness strategy in order for the effective operation of the non-interest finance bank in Nigeria. Thank you very much, Dr. Mustapha, for your insight and perspective on Islamic banking in Nigeria. Do have a pleasant day.
Thank you for inviting me. I look forward to further engagements. Thank you.
The main objectives of the Islamic banking system are eradication of inequality, delivery of optimal level of communal prosperity, and ensuring fairness in the lives of persons and the society at large. Islamic banking, if deepened in Nigeria, will create employment, owing to its mode of operation that creates more channels for investors to get direct access to financial opportunities than conventional banks. This therefore calls for more cooperation amongst the Nigerian Islamic banking institutions and the need to prioritize capacity building sessions and increased enlightenment programs and sensitization sessions for their customers. Non-interest finance provides immense opportunities for stabilizing Nigeria's economy amidst a challenging economic situation. And that is where we draw the curtain for this program. Log on to our website www.prosheng.com for more updates on Islamic finance. Follow us on our social media handles displaying on the screen. Thank you for being part of the show. See you next edition.